Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Thank- Well, interesting stuff and good stuff, especially for my district. I'll start with the good. He has a part in his budget where he's going to try to renovate and mitigate old properties that have been derelict and unused for many years. Now we have in Lincoln, Illinois, we have Lincoln Developmental Center that has been just an eyesore and a blight on the community for a long time. Everybody's been doing, what they could to try to get the state to, mitigate that and renovate that or give it to the city to use. And in the budget, he has many millions of dollars to actually do that. So that's a good part. Another, I'll say, good part is that he's decided to part of his illegal immigrant healthcare, free healthcare scheme that he had. He's dropping that. We saw that there was huge cost overruns, 2 and 3 times the amount that was expected, billions of dollars in free healthcare to illegal immigrants. And he's decided, well, after calling us Republicans, heartless and cold-hearted, he's now decided that he's going to join us and drop part of that plan for adults. Now he's going to keep the senior for illegal immigrants, the senior health care for free health care for illegal immigrants in place, but he's dropping the adult part. So those are two good things. Two bad things, I would say that again, they love spending other people's money, and again, they have a spending problem. We don't have an income problem in Illinois. We're overtaxed. If you saw that, we are the most taxed state in the nation. If you combine all the taxes that we have, so the budget from when he took office, Governor Pritzker took office, has gone from we're looking at probably in around the range of higher 30 billion, low 40 billions to now $55 billion of spending. So they just can't. They're addicted. They are addicted to spending, and instead of approaching our problems that we have, reforming our pension system, reforming our spending, they're starting new programs like, for example, the immigrant healthcare, free healthcare. So bad parts of it that they did not expect as much of a deficit as they had, and of course all their gimmicks and all their little tricks are not going to come through for them. So this time, this budget, I think, Seth, that they are going to actually have to cut spending. We'll see. Other than that, they're going to have to increase taxes. And we saw last session, they almost, even with their own caucus, almost couldn't get a tax increase passed. And I doubt they get one through this year. So they're going to have to actually talk about, think about, contemplate, the horror of actually living within your means. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. We're kind of irrelevant. They don't care what we say or think down there, even though we have a lot of business people and very smart people down here that could help them and have great ideas. They're not really interested. They're interested in power. Okay. And what they have is they have the Black Caucus and the Hispanic Caucus that are going to be at great odds over this. And that we already see that. So the Hispanic Caucus is squawking a lot about the fact that the governor decided to drop this part. So we'll see, because the Hispanic Caucus has great increasing power in their general caucus. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting fight. I'm going to get the popcorn ready and we'll watch them fight, because they don't really care what we think or how we vote. Mhm. Well, I mean, I was disgusted by it, Seth. I mean, you come down here and want to work with people and help the state of Illinois. I just desperately want the state of Illinois to succeed. And as I mentioned, we have great people on our side that can really help, have great ideas. They're not interested in that. And what we hear is that we are racist, transphobes, homophobes, we're bigoted. And we heard on the floor during the budget address that he likened Trump and the Republican Party to the Nazi Party, and that we were fascists, just like the Nazi Party was in Germany. And that was kind of stunning. I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't walk out. Some members of the caucus did. That's beyond the pale, in my opinion. That is disgusting, and that doesn't build constructive, working together in a constructive way. When you're accusing us, there's an old saying that the first person who brings up Hitler or compares someone to Nazism loses, because they don't have any other argument, so they just have to go to the worst argument. The you can't even compare anything to that, but you have to use that because you have no other argument. So I think that he really lost there, and he lost a lot of he lost a lot of goodwill in our caucus when we're called equivalent to Nazis. Yeah. Well, that's a good. I don't pretend to know his mind. I think that it's probably positioning himself in the presidential race, and all this stuff poisons. It poisons relationships in Illinois when you do that. But when you're going for something bigger and you think you need to do that, I think that's probably the reason why he did it. Is it shows him to be the anti-Trump, and I think they're all kind of positioning to be the biggest anti-Trump person for 2028. Who knows? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that it's going to be, like I said, that was just the start of the budget season. We're really heavy in the budget in May. I think that's too late. I think we should be talking about it and what we're going to do. We really need to come up with ideas on how we're going to overcome this deficit, because Illinois, as you may know, has to have a balanced budget. And so when the governor is crowing about the fact that he's had a balanced budget, well, you have to, by law, you have to have a budget that's balanced in Illinois, but it's not really balanced. It's a gimmicky balance, and that they later in the year come in with another you know funding resolution to make up for all the spending that they didn't put in the original budget. So it's a fake balanced budget, but it should be interesting. It's going to be a big fight, and I don't think they're going to try to use the tax increase um, very much, or they're going to try to hide it a lot. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to have to kind of cut spending in some ways. They have some new programs, and the governor's actually proposed, removing the health insurance for illegal aliens that are adults and not seniors. So I think he's trying to find some ways that he can cut, but there's going to be more than that. What I think they'll probably do is they'll probably try to limp along with some gimmicks and propose a budget that's balanced, but not really, just like they've done in other years. And then later in in the year, we'll get a request for more funds because they just underestimated what they'll need for spending. But uh, they will have to come to terms with some spending, I think. they're addicted to it. I mean, it's an amazing thing, you know, that it's a lot of it's good politics, it's terrible policy, and we're reaping, you know, the repercussions of continued spending and continued taxing, and we are so at such a competitive disadvantage in Illinois when you look around at other states that have cut taxes, cut corporate taxes, reform property taxes, and we've just continued to increase those things, and so now we are the really the sickly state in the whole Midwest when you compare ourselves to Ohio or even Indiana and other states. We have the most taxes. We're losing population because of that, and we just have the highest unemployment rate. You know, the really unbelievable thing to me, and I come from a business. I'm a physician. I come from a business that, you know, outcomes and variables, you know, measured outcomes, all of this things, evidence is so important. And so when you don't do things that don't work, right? In medicine, if it doesn't work, you don't continue to do it. But in Illinois, I live in this unreality. It's their truth and not the truth. And when you start fooling yourself that you're doing a great job and you're not living in the reality of taxes, spending, fiscal responsibility, and other issues, that you're not living in any kind of reality, it's hard to battle that. You see how hard it is to battle their truth, because you can bring up all the evidence you want. You can compare ourselves to other states, and they don't really care because they think they're doing a great job. Have I depressed you? Have I depressed? Oh, you have to share my depression and my and my frustration. You have to share somewhat. I can vent to you. I can vent. Thank you for letting me vent. So Well, they want to regulate homeschoolers. They can't stand homeschoolers because it just shows every day. It exposes every day many of their failing public schools. Not all of them, but many are failing our children, and many of them have become indoctrination centers, indoctrination different ideologies that are not compatible with what parents want to teach their children at home, and families want how they want to be and act, and so what we're seeing is many people have taken their child out of public schools and are homeschooling them. And what's happening is those homeschoolers are running circles around public school outcomes. And so this is embarrassing to public education. It's embarrassing to the teachers unions. And so what they're trying to do is regulate. And what I say is what we see here all the time. They start with legislation to regulate so that they can intimidate, and so they can subjugate and eventually eliminate. And so what they are proposing is regulations, and they will say, oh, we just want to keep track of these students, making sure that no one falls through the crack and everybody's qualified. But what it is an ability to control people, to intimidate them, to harass them, to make them enter the bureaucracy. And so what they can do is when they have control over you, they can eventually eliminate you. And we saw that with the Invest in Kids Act, a very small private school choice program that Illinois had that was doing great especially for kids with that were vulnerable and needed that choice of education, get out of the failing public schools. And it was succeeding. And they were told by their teachers union overlords that had to go. And lo and behold, despite its great success being a private, no tax dollars, very little tax dollars at all, it was eliminated last session. And now they've set their eyes on homeschoolers. And once they can control them and intimidate them and change, now we're going to add one more thing and just one more other thing and qualification. Now we're going to shut you down. They can control you, they can eliminate you, they can subjugate you, and eventually homeschooling is very hard to do. You can continue to do it, and then they will say you can continue to do it, but you have to. These are the criteria that you have to have. So I'm against it, and I see we all know what's happening here, and sort of the process is the punishment. They don't really care about all the witness slips that have been entered against this big bad bill. They don't care of all the homeschoolers that have come down here that have voiced their concern about this. And I think the process is the punishment, because all this happens, and then it may not even be constitutional, but the constitutional process takes time, and that's the punishment. All this getting people in an uproar, taking away their rights, making them pay for lawyers and wait through the process. That's all part of the intimidation factor. Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible, and it was such a great program, and it was just really frustrating to me. It's another example. You see this, that here's the evidence, it's working, and people love it. And all these people came down. We had so many people come down to Springfield, groups of people, even from inner city Chicago. It was so great for these kids. They get out of these failing schools, and the parents loved it. And it was mostly private. And I say mostly private because it was all private donations, but you got a rebate off your taxes. Well, that was a step too far for the teachers unions. And they said they spend so much money, and so on these legislators, and when they spend that money, they want a return on that investment. And they said our dividend this year from all the money, the millions upon millions of dollars that we spend, especially the Chicago Teachers Union, it's incredible what they spend on these legislators. I mean, when I say spend, they're buying these legislators. It's obvious that they call in their investment. And last year it was it was invest in kids. This year, it's homeschoolers. Well, I gotta say that they can do anything they want, and we don't have the numbers. It's a pure math game. So if they want this homeschooling regulation to go into place, and when I say homeschoolers, there's a part of it that will affect private schools as well. So that may be part of what they're eyeing. If they can get a hold of regulating private education as well, and eventually they want to have some control over the curriculum. So this is so dangerous, but I just don't know if they really want it to pass. It'll pass, no question about it. And I think the teachers union want it to pass, so it's going to pass. And despite the thousands upon thousands of opponent witness slips, the process that we use to kind of survey our constituents on. Okay, thank you, thank you.